Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Westernacher webinar. Thank you all for joining in. My name is Bellona, and I'm your host today. In today's webinar, we would like to present how to transform your warehouses into a profit center. Your experts for today are Mr. Sanjay KV, Practice Director Warehousing for Westernacher India, and we also have Pradeep Kumar Mishra with us, who is the Global Sales and Business Development Manager here in Westernacher India. We will be talking about the following details today. A very brief introduction about our company, Westernacher. We will be taking a deep dive into how to transform your warehouse into a profit center, the types of warehouses, view from the C-suite and SCM, warehouse challenges, how to reduce warehouse cost and increase profit, vision and future roadmap beyond 2025, EWM solution overview, how to lead with SAP EWM, and we'll also be giving you a very short brief into our packaged and time to value solutions, which will be followed by the Q&A session. I will now hand it over to my colleague, Mr. Pradeep Kumar Mishra, who would be taking you through a brief introduction about our company.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, this is Pradeep Kumar, and I'm sales lead for Westernacher. I take care of Middle East, India, and Southeast Asia market. I'd like to quickly talk about Westernacher, who we are, what we do, and whom we actually serve in the market. So Westernacher is 50 year old company, and we are there in market since 1969. We have 700 top supply chain experts in our team. These consultants are coming from a business background, and they gradually moved into IT. They know business as well as IT part of it. It's been, like as I said, 50 years of innovations. We continuously innovate. Whenever we associate with customers, we always try to bring value for them. It's been like more than 25 years. We are partnered with SAP. We provide consulting services, almost all SAP products. If you see here bottom here, we were the first partner who actually implemented SAP EWM for one of the automotive customer in Europe. We have been doing SAP TM implementation across the globe. It's been like more than 70 plus implementations we have done, particularly into TM space. We did the very first and second yard logistics for one of the automotive customers in Europe. S4 is something very, very close to our heart, and we have been doing a lot of implementation, particularly in this area. There are other technologies which are coming up, and we think that we have to do investments in that particular technologies as well in terms of efforts and all. So we were the first partner who actually implemented some sort of SAP solutions and ERP solutions. In terms of industry expertise, we have been serving a lot of industries, particularly automotive is something where we have a lot of references to showcase. We know that particular industry very well. Industrial machinery and component is something where we have done a lot of innovations. Logistics service providers, here we have our own templates which can be easily deployable to any logistics customers. Consumer goods is something there we have a lot of our customers, big brands whom we have supported, particularly into SAP implementation project in the supply chain space. Retail, wholesale, particularly into Southeast Asia market, India, and in Middle East, we have done EWM, GM, and IBP for various retail customers and wholesale customers, life sciences and chemicals, so to say. With regards to our services, particularly if you'll see Industry 4.0 and Supply Chain 4.0 is something our very core focus area where we have been doing a lot of innovations, right from ERP to 4.0 to supply chain. But we think that supply chain 4.0 is something where customer is more interested, and it's a need of the hour for all the customers, right, to run their business. Basically, if you see IBP and C4 HANA is something where we are also focusing and doing a lot of innovations, as you can see in the slide, right, we cover each and every products which SAP is providing, particularly in the market now. I'd like to hand over to Sanjay, who will walk you through our warehousing practice and the kind of services we provide, particularly into the market. Over to you, Sanjay.
Hi, good morning, everyone. A warm welcome to all. So my name is Sanjay. I'm heading the Westernacher warehousing practice for India, Southeast Asia, and Middle East Asia. So, so today we will be seeing a topic which is core critical to any warehouse operation, and we want to see that how we can transform our warehouses into a profit center. All right. So yeah. So before we started, we had seen the market, we had studied it, and we have few reports from the market which suggests that market warehouse market is growing, right, and growing very in a very high way drastically. So if we look at the current warehouse where we have, and by 2025 where it will be, right, so it will be 55 billion USD of market value of the entire warehousing that is going to happen. So then what would we, who will be the key contributors to this entire growth, right? If we look at the key contributors, ecom has been doing great, and ecom is the one who is who are enabling this growth. And there are other industries, other uh, business players also, but the main contributor to entire this is has been ecom. And when we look at the region, right, and this is mostly for India and APAC, or Southeast Asia, where we see this growth. And these growths, how they are happening, right, it is enabled through automation. So automations, robotics are the main enablers for this growth. And the bigger warehouses, high volume warehouses are coming in with all the automations and best in class technologies, warehouse solutions to it to manage the entire warehousing. So and when we look at also the functions, right, what do these big warehouses do, how do they build the big warehouses, how are they managed? So generally whenever a big warehouses are managed, the idea or the thought process behind is whether there can be a full pallet movement, or what we call it as pallet picking, right, whether a full pallet can be picked instead of breaking the pallets into eaches, maybe cartons, right, into smaller bits. The smaller carton eaches or smaller pickings can happen from their depots, right, or fulfillment centers. But for larger warehouses, generally it is the pallet movements that are enabling and helping the growth, right? So next thing is, let's, when we discuss on this, what are the key types of warehouses that we have, right? Generally when we look at warehousing, we see there are public warehouses, private warehouses, fulfillment centers, and bonded warehouses, right? When we see about public warehouse is generally managed by the government bodies, and they help us. They will have a larger space, like for example for food storage, food grain storage, the pulses and all are stored in this, right? And this enables us, or the end users or the farmers, to store their products that they have grown and they have manufactured it. And there are different types also in this. When we speak about public warehouses can be general commodity warehouses, or it can be a cold storage warehouses. The next one is the private warehouses. Private warehouses are generally owned by the companies, right? Companies that where they have manufacturing centers, or they want to do retail, wholesale, or manufacturing, or distributions, right? They build their own warehouses as per the need, as per the movement of the products, looking at the volumes, looking at the sizes of the products, and how it should be, right? It can be a automated completely warehouse, or it can be a semi-automated, or it can be a completely fulfillment completely bigger space with the entire ground storage without racking and all, right? So that is what private warehouses are generally. We call it as a distribution centers also, right? Then we have the fulfillment centers. What are these fulfillment centers? Fulfillment centers are basically the warehouses where the 3PL activities happens. And currently this is the trend where most of the people are trying and to get into the 3PL warehousing and also manage the entire space for the customers that they have. Charge as per use is the new thing, where the overall capex cost is less, and you only have to pay the operational charges. So that is the benefit. That is how the fulfillment center works. Whether you use it for the number of bins that you take from the 3PL player, or you take just the handling charges, or you do the packing activity. There is a activity based, there will be activity based charge, and only there will be no capex involved in it, right? So this is how it can be handled. And then the bonded warehouses, when the bonded warehouses are generally at ports where we we receive the goods, we don't pay the import duty for that, and so those goods are kept under the bonded warehouses. Once the duties are paid, the products can be moved out. So the criticality or the importance of the bonded warehouses are generally to have the products visible, available on time, right? So if I have paid a duty for 10 pallets, I can immediately move those 10 pallets only instead of moving some other. So that is how it enables better controls for the bonded warehouse. Right. And next, when we see based on the operations, right, how different it can be. Now we saw the types of warehouses, but this warehouses, each one can be different in their own way, right? If it is a production supply warehouse, what do we keep? In a production supply warehouse, we generally try to see that how we can automate it, how fastly the items, right, the child items can be moved from the storage to the production area, or it can be a continuous flow, just in time jet calls to bring the materials to the production assembly area. So that is one kind of warehouse. Then we also have spare parts warehouses. So spare parts warehouses are critical for the availability, for the supply of the parts to the end customers, right? So from spare parts, what we look at is the parts that are needed in are fulfilled timely, and the orders, right? There can be orders which are critical to the vehicles, so those can be supplied from there immediately. So then the other scenario or other type of operations we also have is a retail warehouse. In retail warehouse, what we look at is how fast I can pick. The volumes are always higher, and the integration with transportation, the planning with the transportation has to be there. So all the retail warehouses, we are linked with the transportation plan also, right? So that the products are shipped or fulfilled to the end customer on time in full, with as per the customer's need and how they want it, right? So then we have the distribution centers. What do the distribution centers do, right? So distribution centers generally are the places where we keep our high product volumes, where we have a large spaces, where we see that the operations are complex and the fulfillment happens in the entire supply chain. The fulfillment happens from the distribution center. So that means the distribution centers, the stocks from the distribution centers, it goes to the depots or to the direct to the customers also, right? And here the stocks, all the volumes of the stocks are not less but always on the higher side, and the throughputs are always higher. And the key to the cross dock is always the functionality, or cross docking functionality, which we look at it. Right. Next, when we saw the types of warehouses based on business operations, now also we look at what is the views of the C-suite, right? Where we have CEOs, COOs, CFOs, and CIOs. What is their expectation from the warehouse, right? When somebody goes for a approval, when somebody says that we need to build a warehouse, so we look at how CEO, what is the need of the CEO, what is the need of CEO and CFO. So, right, as a CEO, the first question is what is the vision and the strategy for the warehouse? What is the revenue, what is the profit that we get from setting up a new warehouse? That means a clear ROI that has to be. Whether you have the transparency, because CEO would look at the entire supply chain, and he knows that what the inventories in the warehouse are all good, are all staying as per the norms that are set for the inventory. Then whether we can do the ramp up, ramp down, the agility part of it, if there is a seasonal demand or the demand for the new products that have came in, how we can handle it agilely without disrupting your warehouse operations. And then at last, the customer service, which is a key to the entire operations, entire business, right? How I can satisfy my customers, whether I am sending the right product on time, whether the customer is getting a quality product without getting damaged due to the handling of the product, whether in the warehouse or in the supply chain, right? And the product has been built well. So all these things are the views or the needs of the CEO. And when we look at COO, right, the COO looks at the functionality, what you have in the warehouse, whether you can manage your warehouse with the existing load, whether you can manage your warehouse with the cross-docking functionalities, or the entire change in the supply chain when it happens, whether you can handle the needed functionalities that are there. Then whether we can handle the growth. Say generally warehouses when are built, they are projected with certain growth. Say for 3 years, 5 years, we may grow at 10%, 20%, 30%, right? So when that growth happens, right, whether we are actually able to manage our operations with respect to that growth, or whether we need to relook at our strategy, relook at the a warehouse plan that we have, right? So that is one of the key thing to the entire growth what CEO looks at. Then the operational efficiencies. Whenever a CEO looks at from the warehousing perspective or a supply chain perspective, his core concern or key concern is whether the team, the warehousing team, is managing the operations, whether it is a system processes or the physical processes, whether both are managed, whether the process that we have designed or the processes that are there on the floor are efficient enough or best in class to handle all the challenges, handle day-to-day operations with efficiency, right? So that is the one of the key again point for CEO to look at. Then we have the customer service again over here, and the security is whether the operations are being secured, whether the warehouse space in total is secure, whether the inventories in the warehouse are secure or not. Everything is looked at as a key reporting matrix to COO. Then when CFO looks at it, right, for him, what is the ROI? say we have a warehouse built in, or we propose a warehouse to be built in. So first question from CO is, what is the my ROI, right? So how much time do I take to recover the cost? Then the cash flow, well, if we have invested something, whether we will get the volumes going through, and the sales happening in a way, and whether we are getting the right amount of cash in time, right, is a key thing. Then how, again, CFO also looks at the growth, because that's where we are tied up with cash flow and the ROI. Whenever we project a warehouse and build a warehouse, we look at these two factors. For also, when we can go for approvals, or we build a ROI, so we look at the growth. So then CFO looks at whether the things are simple or not, because for him, ultimately the financial reporting has to happen, and the financials comes from the transactions that we do. And the way, if the transactions are simpler, easy to use, but still foolproof systems and the processes, then he feels secure, right? Again, key concern also of CO has is the security, and how the things at the warehouse are managed more in a more secure way. What CIO looks at, right? CIO looks at what is the system landscape, what should be the infrastructure, then whether system is stable or not, whether the support for the system is available or not. So right, so when we look at these three parameters, right, the next one definitely is the technology, whether we are giving in the best technology, best application. Like when we talk of technology, we have barcodes as a simpler solution, but we have RFIDs that makes the overall process more robust. Then we also have the now automations that will enable the flow much smoother, easier, and good to manage, right, with all efficiencies. So this is what CIO looks at, right? Which technology I am using it, and what is the best technology that a warehouse can should use it, right? And yeah, security also has been a concern, whether it comes to the overall data security or the device security that they use it on the floor, right, how it should be and all. So when these are the key things, right? When we look at the key things of putting all four together, the CCU, the main thing is vision and strategy for the warehouses, the functionalities, the growth, the system, right, technology. These are the four critical things. If and the customer satisfaction also are the things that will drive entire warehouses, right? This is the view what we looked at from C-suite. Now we look at the view from the supply chain management team, what they have to say, right? And so head of the supply chain, the warehouse managers, and the super users, right? When supply chain head looks at it, he looks at what is the visibility across value chain for him, what are, whether he is able to get the real-time updates either from the shop, either from the transit stock, or from the receiving locations, right? What is that uh, it is happening in the entire supply chain. Like we had a recent disruptions due to COVID. So there were challenging time when supply chain heads were continuously following up with all the warehouse managers and his team below, that where are the goods actually staying, whether they have crossed the borders, they have not crossed the borders, is there any challenge in them, they needed some passes and all. So these kind of real-time visibilities are what head of supply chain would look at. Then the KPI tracking, right? He just have to look at what are the KPIs and how it is getting tracked online. So it is not necessary that somebody is making a report, but he can track it online at this moment. He can look at the entire need of the customers and see that say DCA, how is that it is operating, what is the efficiency levels, what is the picking that is happening in the warehouse versus warehouse B, which is doing better or not. So these kind of key KPIs for SCM head is also important. And then customer service, right? SCM looks at that all the orders that have came in gets fulfilled. There is a there is a fulfillment, on time fulfillment, and it happens in full also. Right, all these things are key to the customer service what SCM needs. Then when we look at warehouse managers, right, warehouse managers looks at what would be the warehouse efficiency at a minute and a detailed level of processes. They look at, right, each and every operator, how they work, or they, how my inbound is happening versus my outbound is happening, how the internal activities in the warehouse like packing and all happens. So looking at all these things is the key thing for a warehouse manager, that he knows it, he understands it, and he gets the information on this and he controls it is a more important thing. That today if we look at efficiency, and he has a visibility that warehouse is running at a 70% efficiency, then he looks at the processes what he needs to innovate, what are the processes that he has to re-engineer. There can be some kaizens or suggestions from the team. But yeah, so that's where the warehouse efficiency is looked at, and how is it looked by a warehouse manager. Then the process improvements and adherence. When I look at the efficiencies, definitely a process improvement is a key part to the efficiency, right? With the current changes or in the future growth that is going to come in, or due to some market need, right, heavy demand of few products in the future, maybe month or so, whether the processes needs to be improved, modified, new area can be identified, right, all these things are part of process improvements and adherences which warehouse manager looks at. And then the warehouse operations planning, right. So this is again a very key to the above 2 points, that he has a right people at right place. So when the warehouse manager looks at these things, he identifies the key people, he identifies the supervisors that should they can handle the operations. He looks at the performance of each individual, how they are doing it, and overall who fits where, right, and what type of requirements a warehouse operations need. So based on that, he plans the entire warehouse activities, requirements, resources, MHEs and all. So that's where operations planning becomes key to the warehouse manager. Then we have the super users, right? When you look at the super users, we see that there is a transactional efficiencies and accuracies that a warehouse supervisor would need that. And then the floor management. So how well we can manage the people on the floor, how well the team that is available with him, the 10-15 people working on say packing area, how best he can utilize to complete a day's work, right? Can we do a backward planning, can we do a forward planning? What is my key operations, and based on which I can drive my entire activity, is the responsibility of the super user to manage it. Then managing the infrastructure. So management has built the warehouse, supply chain head has given him the warehouse to operate, warehouse managers have given the responsibility of the team and all, but it becomes the responsibility of the super users to manage his resources that he has, like MHEs or the team or the packing work centers, conveyors and all. So he should see that what is the challenge. Say there is a MHE which is not working or which is up for a maintenance schedule, how he can manage it, how he can do the preventive maintenance, so that the equipments are up and running always. If there is a conveyors in the warehouse, how those conveyors or the sensors can be cleaned, kept it in a proper working condition, and always they are up and working. And then Also the key thing to the super users is the coordination with the external user agencies. Why do we need what are the external agencies that he needs is the transportation. Like we saw that if it is a retail warehouse, so the key thing is the transportation. So he needs to coordinate with them. If our worker, if our warehouses a workforce that are from contractors, subcontractors and all, then he needs to talk to them to get the right people on time. So these are the few points that drive us, that how a warehouse should look like, what are the key things each of the key members in the warehouse look at, right? Once we understand this, the next thing we also see is what are the key business challenges that we generally face in warehouses. Right now what we understood is we have a warehouse setup. We have selected our warehouse type of warehouse based on the business also, and then now we have understood what top management needs, what is the middle management need is. Right now also we look at what generally when we want to make our warehouse as a profit center, what are the key challenges that we see face. First is the infrastructure layout, whether it is organized properly or not. Say how it is important, right? Say suppose we have fast movers, right? Fast moving products kept far away from the dock, right? It is a challenge whether the racks facing towards the dock or racks facing are not facing towards the dock is a key thing, right? If docks are facing towards the dock, the operators can easily pick it and bring it to the docks, drop it, instead of other way around they have to take a turn, travel more distance. Then where is my packing area, where is my inbound area, right? The time, say if the packing areas are near to always the inbound staging areas, the movement of those things are less. So these are the few challenges generally we look at as a infrastructural challenges, layout challenges in the warehouse. Right, the second thing is with the systems, right? Whether we have lot of manual data entry or we have lot of papers in the warehouse, right? Where warehouse team is manually writing it, say for packing, right? A system can decide where it has to go, but we have not configured in the system, so we manually enter the data telling this pallet number I have dropped in this place, and that is updated in the Excel back to track that what has happened, what has came and what is leaving. So these are the few inefficiencies that can be the challenge. Then if inefficient picking, order accuracy and to overall turnaround time is also a critical challenge to the warehouse, right? When we say that inefficient picking, what does it mean? So inefficient picking is whether if you look at your order profile, whether it can be a full pallet pick or a each pick, right? Though if you club couple of orders and I can do a full pallet pick, there are continuous orders from the same customer, whether I can club them, group them to make a make for the picking to happen at once, right? And also the order accuracy, whether once the order has came in before after it comes to warehouse, whether the chances of cancellation is higher, the change in quantities are higher. So all these things will also leads to the disruptions in the warehouse. And overall turnaround time, from when we look at overall turnaround time, there are things starting from the stock received, right? From the stock received, for the stock put away, stock picking and dispatching. How is this cycle managed? Whether the inventories are managed well, whether the inventories are sufficient. We know each of the products when it has to come, it has been forecasted well, the vendor is supplying on time and as per delivery schedules. So this becomes a key thing that if a warehouse has to work efficiently, we have a proper planning, and planning will help us, enable us in overall turnaround time. Then the customer expectation, what do customer need, whether the customer is asking for a just in time kind of a delivery, or customer needs everything in bulk, right? So or customer places a one order per day. So how do the customer orders or expectations are met is a key thing. Then the other thing is the redundancies in processes. Say processes generally are the thoughts that should be keep on evolving. So what it happens is we have built a warehouse which is 3-4 years old, and that's when the processes were designed. But the dynamics of the business changes every, say, 6 months or a year. So whether we have updated our processes accordingly, whether say, the simplest example is I would say is the when we had GST versus the excise duties. So in excise duties, everything was called a manufacturing if you do a repacking activity also. But in GSTs, that has changed. The same way, there is a process where now the vendor himself is packing and giving us. Then why do we need the pack centers? So by talking to the vendors and looking at overall cost benefit, why can we convert all the vendors to give, can they give them in a pre-packed conditions, right? So these are few of the process redundancies that generally happens in warehouses. Then the inventory accuracy and the tracking. Inventory accuracy and tracking is again a key thing for entire warehouse. This always becomes a point and concern for CFOs, right? He wants to see that the inventory that is there in the warehouse is 100% accurate. That's where the physical inventories are conducted, maybe quarterly, maybe monthly, right? If it is a high value items, that even happens weekly. But yeah, there is always a set timelines for that, and that is when it has to be matching, the stock should be matching. So to do that, what are the key things that you should follow? What is the robustness of your process? What is the robustness of the systems, right, that you deployed, and the visibility that is enabled through the entire process is the key thing. Then the quality controls. So when we receive them stocks, there are fragile stocks also in the warehouse. Are we handling it well enough, right? Are we checking it before dispatching? Are we keeping it in right place? There are temperature controlled products. Are we keeping all those things correctly, right? So there are products which are ambient, which need an ambient temperature versus which need a chillers, right? Especially for food industries and the former life science industries. So whether we are able to manage the temperatures properly for them, right? If not, the quality of the stocks that we have gets deteriorated. So we look at all these things as a key challenge. Then the other key challenge that is the reporting, the analytics, right? Currently, there are people in the warehouse who work on Excels, who work on the extracting the data from the applications. Manually, the data are collected maybe on the registers, then to the Excels, right? What is the accuracy of that, whether the data that has been keyed in, entered, is accurate enough, or the confirmations that happens are accurate enough, the timing is, whether the timing is accurate enough or not. So these are the few things that always becomes important, critical for the top management to have a shop floor connect. So this is where we generally feel that shop floor and top floor are connected through reporting, analytics. And if we have a better reporting, better analytics, the people down the line can have a direct reflection connection based on their working, and the top management can have a view of who is working, what how much work has been done, and who is working efficiently and all, right? Then the managing fluctuations in the demand. So this has always been a challenge, right? So how and when, and we don't know. The demands can increase, the demands can drop in, but we just get a idea that yeah, so there is a slowly drop in the trend of those particular products, or there is slowly drop in the requirement of the products. Maybe fast movers would tend to become slow movers. And then the slow movers may become the fast movers or non-moving also. So these fluctuating demands and the requirement changes and requirements, seasonal trends, all are the key challenges always for the uh, uh, business or warehouse, right? So other things are handling damaged products, where I keep it, how I keep it, how I send it back is always. So generally whatever the space we have in warehouse, we try to use it, consume it for the operations and for the good products only. So it is we find it challenging that if there is damages, there is a smaller area for the damages, and it should go back either for uh, either to the vendors or for a scrapping to happen. So that is one key thing, that how those are handled, how quickly the resolution comes in, and the actions are taken. So and the product diversifications are again a bigger thing, where we see that we have uh, lot of products, new products coming in daily, and with the need of the business, with the need of the customers, we tend to develop new products, new versions of it, new revisions happens. How do we manage it, right? And then the labor workforce is the critical, the costliest thing for our warehouse operations, right? Without that, if it is a I have automated or non-automated warehouse, but yeah, the key thing is the labor workforce, which enables us to perform our activities efficiently. We also look at the ways to reduce the cost and increase the profit, and what are the key KPIs, right? What should we do, right? So when we look at these things, the key thing is whether we are benchmarking our warehouse operations, whether we are benchmarking the growth, benchmarking our processes that we have designed, right? Whether we are optimizing the picking process, whether we have a effective slotting process, right? Then cross docking. So when we talk of benchmarking warehouse, what is it, right? That would be a question all across, that benchmarking, generally benchmarking is setting a target, setting a goal to the operations, that if this year we have to do a business of say this many x amount of value, for that I would require a number of inventory turns this much, my fast movers I can handle it this much, and my slow mover should be less, my non-moving should be zero, the damages and all should be zero, and my key warehouse working efficiency should always be above 85 to 90%, right? But this is what the key benchmarking is. The other key benchmarking for warehouse is the space utilization, right? So generally whenever our warehouses are designed, we look at the warehousing space utilization as 85%, but with the daily operations, whether we are using it at 85%, whether we are using it 95%, or we are at just at a 60%, because we have to grow, right? These are the key things that drives the entire benchmarking for a warehouse, right? So then we have the optimized picking processes, when we say optimized picking processes, what all it can be, right? What you are doing today and what how differently you can do it tomorrow, right? How we can design a process. First thing, whenever we look at the picking process, the key challenges are the each versus the pallet picking, right? How much of the each picking we should do and how much of the pallet picking we should do. Can we have a threshold? Can we ask our customers always to purchase the minimum quantity, right? So there can be always a known quantity that if there is a product X, it will this is the quantity that will be picked, and if this is a product Y, there will be always a lot of each picking. Based on that, we can create different zones in the warehouse, thereby designating the resources, telling this resource will always look at the each picking versus the operators, those who will do the palletized picking. And also we should look at the overall time taken for the picking, right? How much time it takes from one place to the other, one bin to the other bin, whether he is moving in a path that is optimal for picking, or whether he is moving in a zigzag way. So to give an example over there, we have a 8 aisles or 10 aisles in a warehouse, and first the MHE operator goes to one, then he goes to three, then he comes back to two, then goes to six, comes back to four, five. So this is where whether we can manage it, whether we can optimize his entire movement, right, in a sequence that first he completes the aisle one picking, then he goes to aisle two, then he goes to aisle three in a similar way. And also whether the operators and the MHEs are enough in the warehouse, looking at the need, looking at the volumes, whether we have planned it well enough and the right equipment. Say if I want to do picking from ground, shall I give him a forklift? Shall I give him a battery operated truck, or shall I give him a hand pallet truck? Right. So these are, if given a chance for any ground picking or each picking, we would always prefer to do it from the ground and from by BOPT or handheld pallet HPTs, right? So this is what it looks like as a, and how we want to think about the optimized picking process. Then effective slotting, why it is required, right? Effective, how it is why it is required and how it enables the warehouse to work efficiently, right? That the thing is, say we have products generally categorized into fast movers, slow movers, and medium movers, right? Also there are products which can be a bulkier, which can be smaller, which can be medium in size. So looking at all these things, can we have a common process for everything, common storage for everything? The answer would be no, right? Then how we would look at whether it is a manual process or a system process or it is an automatic process. So we should always, when we talk of slotting, we always look at that it should be a semi-automatic process where system will suggest that, yeah, these are the key things, looking at your forecasting, looking at your transactional data, the activities, the products, it will identify as that these are the products that are fast movers, these are the products that are slow movers, and so on. So looking at all these things, how do we slot, keep the product in a right place, right, is very important. Then can we do a cross docking in our warehouses? What should be the percentage? Like for example, in retail warehouses, the fresh products are always cross docked, are never stored. Fresh products, if we can take an example like milk, dairy products, vegetables, that come into retail warehouses go out the same moment the time it has came out, but it gets splitted or it gets distributed for different stores, different other warehouses they want to send it, right? So whether we can enable that for all the products, few products, fast moving products, slow moving products, again we always have to look at what it is, how it is, and what are the products, what is the volume that we can do, and how we can enable it in a robust way. Then the storage optimization, right? This is again a key thing. We have we always should look at when we talk of storage optimization, how do I receive my products, whether the products that come in are always full pallets or always partial pallets, or there is a scenario that there is a mixed. When it comes in a mixed, whether they are batch managed, they are serial number managed, how and what type of configuration it requires. Based on that, we should come look at the strategy that how I want to store the entire products and how efficiently I can design the process in the system. So when also there are customer needs sometime that all his products stays in nearby bins, so that there is a inspection that happens, customer inspection. During that time he is always happy to look at all his products. So in that case also, can we convince the customer that we will store the products in a place and we will give you a list, you go and check with respect to that bin, that pallet, the product is lying over there, and he gets that assurance that we always don't have to keep all the products nearby and always look for the space, or the space is getting utilized properly. Then the inventory visibility. So when we talk of inventory visibility, you can do we look at the entire supply chain visibility, entire starting from vendor, right? What vendor will be sending to us, what is that I have in my staging, what is the trucks that are waiting to come into the stock. So that's when you can know that the exact inventory levels that will be coming in. And then also looking at the outbound, we can always understand that the inventories that would go out, how this gets balanced and how we should do that. Then we, whether we have a right WMS tool. When we say right WMS tool, it should be robust, it should be flexible, it should be ease, it should have the best practices, and it can be a single tool which can even look at automations if required. It can do a proper planning for your inbound versus outbound vehicles, whether it can give you the analytics that you require, whether it can drive the your operations based on the business rules that you have set in. And it should be easy to configure, easy to build, easy to deploy and all. So then the last one is whether we should look at warehouse automations. What are the key automations that we should look at, and what are those automations that will enable the warehouse work smoothly. If you have lot of each picking like it happens for any retail warehouses, can we look at put to light or pick by light, right? So it is all about deciding where I want to deconsolidate versus consolidation. So whether how I want to do the picking, how I want to do my warehouse movements, right? Whether I can put in a AGV, mobile robots and all. So these are the few key things which directly, indirectly impact the warehouse efficiencies and warehouse costs. These are the parameters that if we control in the warehouse, design the warehouse looking at these parameters, definitely we see that warehouse runs more efficiently. The costs, the spending on the warehouses are reduced to all the wastages gets eliminated from the warehouse operations, right? Ultimately any wastage is a cost, and if those costs are eliminated, if your warehouse is working, if you can handle more workload in a planned way, so that always helps you to grow, helps you to manage the warehouse in a better way, and your overall profits from the warehouse increases, right? There are few other ways which we look at from the system point, right? When we have the systems, what we should look at. We talked about the physical process, but the physical process definitely should be supported, enabled by the warehouses, right? Whether the physical inspections of the warehouse by operators, whether you can be driven by WMS, the review of current system issues, restrictions, if there are there anything, whether those can be addressed, those can be resolved immediately, so that you don't stay on the issue and you improve your process. So then you use the new technologies that come in time to time. Say tomorrow, so when we were building the warehouse, we were using barcodes. Then we see that there is a probable chance to eliminate scanning and all during the receiving and the dispatch operation. So can we go for a RFID based solution, or can we go for a NFC solution, right? Which is and how we can do it, what are the products that we should look at. So all these, whether the WMS application supports you, then other things is the whether your key warehouse metrics are captured, calculated on the time, right, is also very important. And whether your overall warehouse application, would it suggest you how to optimize it, what are the different optimization techniques, or will it bring you the visibility for the optimization, is all again a key thing. And potential, this all becomes a potential ROI when you look at your WMS solution. And with this, with particular solution, with particular application, we should always look at that how quickly my ROI can be achieved. But it is not only the system, but it also is the process. But to process, once the process get enables, it should be supported by a robust system, without which we feel that processes are difficult to be adhered, right? So there is, if we draw a line, so those lines has to be followed in a strict way. There should be maker checker policies, there should be a person who should be monitoring it, managing it, knowing the challenges, exceptions from the floor directly, right? These are the key things that whenever whatever the applications we have, and we should look at. And what it is for all these things, right, all your needs, ROIs, physical inspections and all, is there a application? And I would say, yeah, we looking at a few of the products from the warehousing, and we being working with SAP's EWM product application, so we feel that EWM application is ready to manage all of this, right? Whether it is your automations where you don't require any middle layer of WCS, EWM can directly manage all your automations from talking to the PLC level. Then it can give you a KPI reporting, it can give you online informations, online alert systems that it will drive based on the exceptions, based on the business rule that we define in the system. And there is always process wise, industry wise processes, best practices that has been defined in the system. It is all about how well we configure it and how well we use it. Now, the next thing is, what is our future? We know that we require a best EWM, best warehousing system. But apart from that, what is our future roadmap for all the warehouses? right? When we look at the future warehouses, Internet of Things, automated guided vehicles, AR, right, wearable glasses, smart glasses, drones, right, machine learning, anticipatory logistics, last mile deliveries, and robotic automations. These are the things, these are the way forward that would become, and that is where the warehouses will be called a smart warehouse. Where there may be a category that would get created apart from your domain of public, private, fulfillment centers, and your bonded warehouses. The bigger question will be when is whether your warehouse is a smart warehouse, right? So to embrace these technologies, whether your warehouses are equipped, whether your applications are equipped, is also a key thing, right? Yeah, so there may be questions that how Internet of Things can help a warehouse. Yeah, there are things like you have your MHs working on the a warehouse floor, doing all the operations, picking, put away operations. It is always good to know that whether it has worked 8 hours efficiently or not. What is it? What is its movement? Whether the operator driving it is driving it safely, what is the speed, that at what speed he is driving in the warehouse, right? And then whether it is a preventive up for a maintenance, whether the vehicle is about to go for a maintenance, or it is under maintenance. All these things are where we see improvements in the overall efficiency. Just sitting in a office, you can manage it, right? So the way is that for doing all these things, you require a robust system, application, warehouse application, to manage all these things. And when again, when we looked at it, we see that EWM is the best fit. What it has is, it can do a process modeling, it can handle the reverse logistics, it can do a planning for your manpower, it can show who is the better, who is the best manpower you have, how your MHEs or the assets, right, conveyors and all are getting utilized. If you have a ASRS, whether the crane is doing the interleaving task or not, then the visibility and the transparency, then the stock transfers, how you manage it from one bin to the other bin, one warehouse to the other warehouse across the supply chain. Those things, whether I have to do a full pallet transfer or a partial picking, versus how I integrate with my production supplies, right? How the production is happening and how I can bring those stocks, right? Then we have the industry best practices that are there, each industry wise. Say if it is a retail, right, generally retail has a scenario of pick by cart, whether we can use that scenario. Then we have cross dockings for each of the processes. Then we have can do a transport planning, right? How many trucks, what time it will come, based on that whether I can trigger my entire picking activity, or there are group of customers where it has to be shipped on a specific day. Based on that, how I plan it. So these are the few best industry best practices that are already available. Then we have the warehouse automations, where your all the automated equipments like ASRS, AGVs, robots, and all gets directly connected, controlled with it. Then we can directly do a e-com integrations, where we can send the order information, update the end customer, that whether the order has been picked, shipped, where it is, kind of a integration. Then we can manage the vehicles that have came in your warehouse waiting for the doors to get allocated, how much, where it is, how it is, where it has been parked, right? Whether the parking lot is sufficient or not, whether the next vehicle that is coming in should be allowed to parking lot, the material is coming whether with a urgent material and it has to be directly unloaded and dispatched. All those things can be managed. Then the contract logistics is again a key to the applications where you have all your 3PL activities controlled directly in the system, where you can understand and the fulfillment centers needs, right, where they have the need to understand that for a specific customer how many bins they have allocated, or how many aisles are dedicatedly allocated, how many times their pallets has been handled, how many resources has been used for that 3PL fulfillment center. All these are the key things and inbuilt in the product, and so you can use it directly without any enhancement, customizations, modifications to the systems, right? Then you can directly use the RF devices. You can use the RFIDs in the system. There you have shuttles and conveyors, and then you can also integrate with your transportation planning also. And you can think of talking to a transporters through integration or SAP's TM, which is a standard integration methods, right? Once now we looked at what it has, so what it can do or how it has benefited the customers is the picking efficiencies has increased, the inventory countings has been more faster, right? The loadings has been faster. Then the productivity, if you looked at it, productivity, the processes has been controlled, harmonized. The inventory turns over a period has increased because you know that the right product is available in right place and you have slotted it properly, and whatever it has turned out to be non-moving, the products have been either quarantined so that the it doesn't occupy the space, and the products that are new products that are coming in are categorized properly into fast, slow, or medium movers, and positioned or put away at a right location, right? So then we also have the visibility part, which is any need of a warehouse, right? What we looked at, the either it is a sea level view or whether it is a key operations view, that visibility is more, that is what it enables. The batch traceability, whether you want, if you have a system, EWM system deployed from your production, we can always do a batch traceability from your production to the customer, or if customer needs to understand that what is that you have used it, how you have built it, you can always look at the batch from the customer to the production area backwards, right? So there is a forward and backward tracing, and the accuracy of the batches are managed, the FIFOs are followed, there can and the right product with right batch is looked for either for production, receiving, dispatches, right? And the other things is for the dairy products or the food industries, the catch weight, how it is managed, and all are inbuilt to it. You know, can what would be your actual weight versus what would be your catch weight, and what is the expiry date for them, or what would be the best before date. So all these things are standard, readily available with the product, and many lot of customers across the globe are using it, have got benefited, and they have seen the benefits of the each of the functionality, how they want to use it, right? So here it is not only about what we say, but here are a few customers where we have captured the KPIs. We have looked at how they are working, what are the KPIs that we have, and all. So few of the customers where we have worked, bigger customers, Wumart is again a retail customer. Then we have Kingfa, where the entire technology was, or the warehouse improvement was to how their products can be managed and all. So what we see is there is a 80% increase in their efficiencies. This is right how they manage it, and this are the KPIs that we have captured after the project has been deployed. So go live has happened, and there are also the feedbacks that we receive physically from the team. Right. So if you look at same the color text, which is an Indian customer, so they have improved their overall warehouse productivity by 30%. Right, how they did it? Yeah, so this is again the enablement of right process, right design that we suggested them, deployed it on floor after a lot of discussions, debates. Here also we did a batch traceability where the customer looking at the batch of the product can ask for the production batch, or when the production has happened, what is the accuracy, what are the products that have gone, and all the entire tracing can be done. Then we also work with Coca-Cola, X steps, right, and Delhi. So these are a few of our customers where we have deployed out of all the customers, and where we have the accuracies and we have the KPIs for it. Right. So next, what EWM brings and how we can achieve that. Right. So we have all the functionalities listed over here. We will definitely do each functionality wise, each process wise, the entire again webinar for this. But when we look at this, what you already have as an application, as a standard processes, is the you have the uh, planning, inbound transportation, inbound processing, storage operations, outbound processing, and outbound transportation. So what inbound and outbound transportation enables us for planning, when the trucks are coming in, what time I require a docks, how many docks are available for either for loading or unloading, right? The entire what time, how many trucks will be there in the system. We can, vendors can even generate their appointments in the system, asking them or asking for a time slot. We can tell that each we can divide the working hours into different time slots, and the vendors who are sending their trucks can pick up the timeline when they want to send their truck. Same way, the transporters also can log in directly to get a appointment from the system. And as a warehouse team, the team can manage the and look at what time the trucks have came, whether they have adhered to the schedules and all. Right, these are the key operations, key things on the planning side that I have mentioned. Then we also have the inbound processing, where we start from the receiving of the goods, unloading it, packing it, put away, uh, through either through packing or directly put away, whether we have to look at cartonization, whether you want to do a quality inspection of that products, quality with sampling, without sampling, how you want to do it, whether you want to repack the products that you have received, and finally the put away. In between, what we can also have the functionality is the cross docking, whether the products that you have received can directly be shipped out, or you can do a value add service like kitting of those products, or doing a packaging of those products. Say you want to do, or you want to pack it in a bubble wraps or some sheets and then carbureted boxes and all, you can still do it. So these are what mainly on the inbound process. Then on the storage, what we have a critical thing or very important for warehouse is the slotting, then the rearrangement. Once you have slotted, whether the products are arranged it properly or not, then the inventory, physical inventory counts, how you do it, and whether you have a cycle count or whether you have a wall to wall count. Then you have the replenishments cycle, how you want to do it. So all these process, then the key thing, the production integration also. So you can directly integrate your entire activities with your production. Then you have the labor resource planning. And then when we look at the outbound, it again starts with the deliveries that we get in. Then whether we can group the customers, group the deliveries based on the route that we have, or based on the different order types that we have, maybe a urgent order versus a normal order versus a dealer order, distributor order, whatever the types of orders. Can we group it? Can we group it based on the route? Can we group it based on the shipping area, shipping locations and all, right? That is a key functionality which enables the improves the efficiencies of the picking, right? Then how you can use the RF guns efficiently, then how I can stage it, whether we need a consolidation, whether we need to print labels or loading. All these things are standard inbuilt in the product, right? And it can be managed easily. So what, apart from that, the key features and functionalities, what we also have is the warehouse automations and controls, what we generally call it as a material flows controls, or material flow systems, wherein it can talk to the PLC and directly control it. Then we also have the KPIs, alerts and exceptions getting from it, based on the business rules logic. Say if you want to know the picking every hour, right, we can set a alert that you will get a picking reports, picking statuses every hour, telling what is your picking efficiency for last 1 hour has been. And it can also be that in which area, which zone the maximum picks has been. So then we also can directly control talk, use RFID devices or RF or handheld devices on the floor. We can have the workflow process, and when we have the 3PL logistics, the onboarding of the new customers or the offboarding of the new customers is just a master data. You don't have to do anything apart from that, and you can just within a day of the customer, you have brought in new customer that has came into for a space requisition or the operations. You can onboard him and start working in the warehouse, right? So how we manage this is we have something called, we have our own assets, we have our own solutions built in, and we have our accelerators that enable us to deploy this solution, right? So what we have is we have this time to value solution, where looking at your warehouse, we tell that whether it is a fast, basic, intermediate, advanced or extensive, and based on that we based on the criteria or category of the warehouse, whether your warehouse is smaller, medium, large, very large, completely automated and all, we come up with the suggestion that if it is a simpler warehouse and all, we can go for a fast. If it is a medium and bit complex, then we can look at a solution which is 5 to 6 months and all. So the idea behind this is how quickly we can deliver it and how you can start realizing your ROI from the day the operation starts, and the robustness. So also it is not, we should look at, it is not only the larger warehouses that should be on warehouse management, but it can be a small warehouse working more efficiently with warehousing solution application with lot of visibility, informations, process controls. So right, so this is what we thought will be a fit to the entire thing. So for any solution, any thing that we have, is how we approach to the entire solution is we do a quick 1-2 day study. Then we have our own methodology of deployment, what we call as 5D, where we have define phase, discover, design, develop and deploy phases. So in each phase we do different activities. The core to this entire thing is discover, design, develop and deploy. Define being the understanding the project, understanding the team needs of what is the scope that will be, and at the end how we enable you or we enable you to manage your operations and support it, right? So apart from this the standard solution, what we also have is our own assets, over a period with all the experiences, talking to various customers, looking at the warehouse operations, we build in few assets which enables our customers to work with ease, to look at their operations in a simpler way, easier way, and still they can have the technology centric, right? So like connected forklifts are the solutions where which is for the MHEs, where we can track the entire MHE movement. This is a IoT based solution, right? Then we have the KPI dashboards where the reporting, real-time reporting happens, and the top management sitting in their offices can look at how it is happening. We also have the exceptions showing in it. That means that if we have set a benchmark that warehouse should always work at 90%, if it is anything over that, we can there is an alert telling that it has crossed the threshold, so please have a look. So there are traffic light based controls, red, green, yellow, which indicates the alert systems. Then we have a simplified version for the RF guns, which is a application that you can use it easily. You can have the feeling of a app that you're generally we use in day-to-day life, which is a tile structured one. Then we also have a solution for voice picking. Voice picking is a standard SAP EWM feature. Apart from that, we have add-on to make it more efficient, more simpler in deployment. So the same way we have done our application on drone-based physical inventory and managing the warehouse operations, where we can look at entire physical inventories. We can look at how many full bins are there, how many empty bins are there, what is the stock, and also if we want to monitor, have a bird's view of the warehouse, which area is critical, whether the docks are free or not. We just have to fly in the drone. The parameters, the coordinates are set in it. You just tell this is where it has to fly in. It goes in, checks in, and gives us the images, gives us the update that how the warehouse is working. And then we also have something 3D warehouse modeling or automations, where we see that we can visualize the warehouse, how it is working, where is the key load, what are the key areas and all. So then we also have the scanning based on voice visualization, which we call as a smart glass integrations. And we have this solution built in for most type of the smart glasses and for the warehouse, which will be again a hands-free operation, efficient operation. The operator has to scan it without using any RF gun holding it. He just wear the glasses and starts working it. And the other things that we have also is the advanced slotting, UI enhancement. We have the predictive warehousing and the warehouse mapping solutions there. So this is a quick success story on the Hosco vision, which is more about how we use the robots, how we integrated with the robots and used it. We connected with 86 robots which travel almost 640 kilometers daily with 100% accuracy to the production supply area. And they also it has optimally used the bins, right? So it is a just jet call for the robot. It has to supply the stocks from the staging area to the production supply area or the production area directly, so that it brings back the empty pallets cages that has been done. So other one is the drone, where I will want to quickly share a video with you. Right, so thank you for the time. Now we will get into the Q&A session, right? So,
Yes, yes, Sanjay.
yeah, Vinod.
So we have few questions here from the audience.
Yeah.
Just give me a second. Yeah, so there is this question, how Westernacher is helping organizations in warehouse automation? How do you help them? That which automation solution will fit their needs?
Yeah. So to answer this question, what we generally do is we visit the warehouses, or with the new way of working, even we connect remotely, we visually look at the warehouses, we look at the detail of the processes that we have that are on the operations. We do a detailed study. Based on the our warehouse detailed study, we come to conclusion that what are the key processes that we need to automate, and based on that we suggest that the key automations that are required on the warehouse. Maybe if you have a pallet kind of a movement and you have height, there is no concern of height and all, so we always suggest, might be a suggestion would be that to go for a ASRS or a mini load kind of a thing. If you have lot of each picking, we may suggest that why don't you look for put to light, and we also would tell that how it will benefit it, what is the overall efficiency ROIs that would come out of it. We do a we do a complete business case study, prepare a business case for you, and tell you that how the warehouse operations and which process, which automations would fit into your warehouse.
Thank you, Sanjay. There is a second question on how EWM works with third-party logistics partners. Is there any standard out-of-box integration available?
So there are standard out-of-box solutions with the third-party vendors if you want to work it, or if it is a 3PL operation, EWM standard itself has a functionalities to manage the 3PL operations, do a billing, give a billing solution also for that, right? So generally when we look at 3PL, either one is whether we integrate with them. Yeah, standard APIs are available, IDOCs are available, which can be directly interfaced within a quick turnaround time. Also, we then, if not that, and if we want a robust solution, with EWM can be directly used with all the functions, features that are required for 3PL windows.
Okay, great. So unfortunately, we'll need to end this session, first of all, because we have already finished with our time slot. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining into our webinar. Thank you, Sanjay, for this amazing presentation. Before you all leave, let me provide you with some final information. We have an upcoming webinar as a deep dive into IBP, which is next week, Tuesday. I'm sure you must have received the invite emails. Please join in and discuss with us about how to, dynamic your supply chain, how to digitalize it with some supply chain planning. In case you have any more questions, do not hesitate to contact our consultants directly, or you can get in touch with anyone from our company through our company website. You can check out our other webinars on our website as well as our YouTube channel. Thank you all again for joining in, and we would love to invite you back to our next online event.